So you might have been struggling with navigating the fretboard, and this tutorial will show you how to do that very easily. I will show you what the pattern is first, and then we'll go from there. So it's simply this. So essentially what you need to know, open tunings first. So it's simply E, A, D, G, B, E. Now if you know that, that's a big start. Now the next thing you need to know is all the notes on your E string. So whether it's your low E string or your high E string, it doesn't matter. Once you know that, obviously you know the notes on two strings already, which gives you a massive step ahead. So assuming you know, for example, that this is an A, you're then going to be able to move this pattern up and down and find all the A's across the fretboard. So the pattern starts with, this is your first day. This is your next day, because they're both on E strings. So you've got an A there, you've got an A there. You already know two A's, fantastic. So then what you do is you skip a string. This pattern always relies on skipping strings. So you skip a string, 2 frets along, and that's your octave up. That's still an A, there, A, A. Now this is where things get interesting, because the guitar is an irregularly tuned instrument. It's nearly all regular apart from between the G and the B strings. That's where things get interesting, and that's why it can start to get confusing. But as long as you know that the tuning on all the strings is even, apart from between the G and the B, it's going to make your life so much easier. So I'll show you what I mean here. So between the 6th and the 5th strings, the tuning's even. Same thing on the 4th and 5th strings. Same thing on the 3rd and 4th string. Now this is where it changes. You need to go down one for the 3rd and 2nd string, and you come back up again for the 2nd and 1st string. So this is the odd one out. It's the G string. Technically that would be tuned up by a semitone, and then it would be all the same tuning up and down the fretboard. But it's done that way for easy fretting of chord shapes up and down the fretboard. That's really the main reason why it was originally tuned that way, I believe, because otherwise it makes things much more complicated in the long run. So you know the open strings, you know the guitar is tuned irregularly, and now you've got that first pattern under your fingers, and you skip. Instead of just 2 here, you skip 2 frets there. Now you skip 3 frets. 1, 2, 3. And then you come back on yourself. You skip 2 frets and you go back up, all the way back up to the 5th string. Then you repeat that pattern again. It's a very similar sequence again. You go from here, skip a string, go 2 frets up, and you're there. And then finally, skip 3 frets, skip a string, and you're there. So that would be your A's on the fretboard. If you wanted to start all the way down, now this is the magic sauce. This is where things get really interesting, because the pentatonic shapes actually help bring this together. So really, you'll have probably learnt the pentatonics as just simple patterns to memorize, and you may or may not have started off on your root notes. It's very common, just for example, if I take the 5th shape, because I call this the 5th shape, and then this would be the first shape starting on A minor. So we'll start the 5th shape. You should be starting on your root notes within the pentatonic shape. So instead of just going, instead of doing that, actually start on the root. So which means that you would start here and then go here and finish on a root. That's going to really, really help you in your knowledge of the fretboard massively, absolutely massively. It's structuring your practice so that you actually start on root notes of the pentatonic. So from here, that's your next root note. So you can see you actually have an A here as well. And that's part of your fifth shape of the minor pentatonic. So you can go. And then do the same thing on the next shapes. And make a conscious effort to actually start and stop on your root notes. So from here, so I would say whenever you're practicing your pentatonics, always start on your root notes. So for example, this next shape, you might normally go. I would say stop doing it that way. Stop practicing your pentatonics that way. Force yourself to start and end on a root note. So instead, you can see this one, because it's the previous pattern, even if you're not really very sure where the root notes are yet. If you start on your previous pattern, if you just practice on the first pattern of the pentatonic first, so because that's the easiest one, because that does start on a root note and end on a root note if you wanted to. That's your root note. So, for example, if you then go up in your pentatonic shapes, so you know this is your root note. That's an A. This is an A. So your next shape, start it there instead. And finish it there, because that's the other A. And suddenly things start to become like that. The mist starts to clear. This will become all very second nature to you. So you could just, so for example, in a solo, you know, you might go, finish on that A, or you could start and finish on that A. And suddenly you can start just going up and down as you want, and it becomes second nature. You barely even have to think about it. So no complicated courses, all the rest of it, what have you. In a matter of a few minutes, you'll be able to just go up and down, do all your root notes, whatever you want, and happy days, you're there. It's actually pretty simple stuff. It's just about understanding how the fretboard is made up. Understanding a bit about your pentatonics, and go from there. The world is your oyster. The sky is the limit, as they say. So if you like this, please do like, comment, subscribe, all that goodness. And yeah, love to hear from you. All right, cheers, bye. See you in the next one.